Let's talk to Will Kingston, political commentator. Will, very good morning to you.
G'day, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, very well indeed. So, for Rachel Reeves' next trick, apparently not content with ruining the economy by giving all of us more money to pay into the exchequer, she's now going to go after civil servants, and she's going to start slashing and burning away at the government departments of Whitehall. I don't think she's going to have much success there, do you?
No, no surprises. No, I don't. As an aside, thank you to Chris from Barnsley for that voice note. That made my morning. I thought that was very funny. Look, we have to run off the evidence that we've seen so far, Mike, and that is this government has pursued spending cuts and tax rises on areas where they're not going to raise a lot of money or save a lot of money, but they're going to do a lot of harm to people. Like you look at the VAT with private schools, which it's debatable whether it will actually raise any money at all, and yet 3 private schools have already closed.
Yeah.
You look at the winter fuel payments, which again, in the greater scheme of things, won't do much, but it will really hurt pensioners. These are all measures which actually don't actually get to the nub of the economic problem, because the big things, you know, your net zero lunacy, throwing more money at the NHS without serious reform, they're the things that actually cost the economy money, but because they are articles of faith for the Labor Party, they don't touch them. That is the ideological kind of underpinning of what they believe in.
Right.
So this is all just around the edges without any real reform, but actually, unfortunately, things that hurt a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly right. And she went off to China amidst a bit of a storm around that, because people were saying she shouldn't be going to China. The markets are in turmoil. You know, the Treasury is having to step in, and gilt yields are going through the roof, the highest I think since 1998. You know, we're paying more now in interest than we were supposed to be doing. So the whole experiment of the budget has kind of fallen flat on its face, hasn't it?
Yeah, look, there's 2 things here. Number one, how bad are these guys at politics, and who is advising them? You know, going off to China when the economy is in free fall, talking about AI when people are thinking about rape gangs. Like, AI is important, don't get me wrong, but this is not the conversation that we need to be having right here, right now. But I think there's another point that needs to be made here, Mike, and that is the world is becoming less globalised. We're going to be breaking up more and more into the blocks of the EU, US and China and Asia, and the UK needs to make some serious choices. They can't just have their finger in each of those pies. There is, unfortunately, and I'm not warmongering, but unfortunately there is a very good chance that the US will be in some sort of a conflict with China by the end of this decade, whether that's military or whether that's just increased economic tension. And we've got to make a choice. And I think the obvious choice is you double down on the US. But this government doesn't want to do that because they hate Trump, and ideologically, I actually think they're probably more comfortable with the EU, if not with China.
Yeah.
So this is the wrong position for us to go. We need to be aligning more and focusing on the US.
Yeah, I agree with you, but you're absolutely right. They won't do it because they can't bring themselves to do it. They can't bring themselves to talk about Elon Musk. All they can do is investigate him to see whether he's committing some kind of hate crime by sending tweets out to Keir Starmer. You know, they don't like Donald Trump. They've called him a racist. They've called him a rapist. They've called him a misogynist. You know, over time, you know, people remember that stuff. I mean, Trump has actually been quite conciliatory at the moment, it seems to me. He's been quite sensible. He's not the same Donald Trump that came into power in 2016. And so there's a lot they could be doing. But instead, as you say, they're sort of flailing around. I mean, this AI thing today is a good example. You know, who knows more about AI than Elon Musk? You know, but they're launching this AI, you know, revolution without having him on board in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, I would be very curious if you got Keir Starmer off script and just asked for a basic definition of what AI is.
Yeah.
I think you'd get a pretty poor answer. Again, important thing for us to consider, but you need to actually have this being driven by the private sector, not by government bureaucrats. None of the government front bench or cabinet would have any idea, really, the capabilities of AI.
No.
This is where you need to deregulate and let the private sector do its job. But that instinct just isn't there in the Labor Party. They don't have that as part of their DNA. Get out of the way and let the private sector sort this stuff out. Don't drive this stuff from Westminster.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, their instinct is to regulate the hell out of everything. Here's Peter Carl, who's the Science and Technology Minister, talking about AI.
There will be disruption caused by AI going forward, but you're right that it will also create a lot of new jobs, and it will also, if it's used wisely, it will make workers' lives in the workplace much more efficient, effective and satisfying, because some of the mundane tasks will be taken care of.
Yeah, but part of the work sometimes is mundane tasks. I mean, we've got Rachel Reeves apparently admitting that she uses AI to answer emails that she gets from people asking, you know, what questions are asked quite regularly. But all that means is that she doesn't answer the emails normally anyway, so I don't see how that helps her. Basically, at the end of the day, some automated response gets sent to somebody who sent in an email saying, thank you for your email, the Minister will respond in due course. And that's the end of that. So how has that saved anybody any time?
Yeah, well, tell me you don't care without telling me you don't care.
Yeah, right.
I think that was a very odd comment from her. But you know where we could actually, if they're actually saying that like AI is a tool for us to eliminate or reduce mundane day-to-day tasks, start with the public service.
Yeah.
Actually prove the point in the areas where you have direct control over. We have a bloated bureaucracy. Everyone knows that. So why doesn't the government say, you know what, we believe in this and we're going to put our money where our mouth is and we're going to reduce the size of the public service, or at least reduce it in particular areas by 25% using AI. And then we're going to use that as a case study, which the private sector can then take inspiration from. But unfortunately, they're not doing that. That's where really I think you could see some value out of this, but you're not going to see it there, unfortunately.
But that's it. If you did that properly, though, what would result would be a bunch of jobs disappearing. Right, so yeah. I don't see how that is in any way good for the economy. And as I say, I've now read it twice, this piece in The Guardian about how the AI revolution is going to change everything. And I can't make any sense of it. They say they're going to have a £470 billion boost to the economy. But it doesn't say how.
Yeah, look, again, above my pay grade in some respects, I think, but the one thing which I think is interesting that we're not talking about is if you do actually go all in on AI, and there are undoubtedly benefits of it, you basically take away a lot of those jobs which young people do in the first 5 or 6 years of their career, which are annoying and painful, but someone has to do them. Think like junior lawyers. All of the junior lawyer type jobs will end up being completely taken away by AI. But you need to do those sorts of junior, mundane jobs in order to learn to get to the senior levels.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of companies have really thought about how do you actually train young people and get young people up to speed if you're going to take away all of the kind of, I was about to say, S-kicker jobs that you have to do in the past to be able to advance.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Just a bit of breaking news. Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin, he was going to launch his new Glenn rocket for the first time in Florida. It was due to go at 7:30, then it was due to go at 7:45. It's now coming up to 8:14. They've just called it off. So even Jeff Bezos can't get his AI right. I think Elon Musk will be laughing all the way to the bank this morning, won't he?
Yeah, yet another late Amazon delivery. I guess he will. It is interesting how these guys just have this obsession with trying to go to space. There's a big ego thing, obviously, in that one planet isn't enough for them.
Right.
I don't really have much to say on this other than, look, I actually think we should be, promoting these sorts of billionaires from doing this sort of stuff. It's cool. It's, it's interesting. It will have benefits for humanity. I hope he gets it under control and gets it working. Good luck to him.
Right. I mean, we've got some generated AI pictures now of Keir Starmer and Elon Musk together. Let's have a look and see what they look like. And that is a kind of, it's a kind of a fun thing to do. And it looks like they're standing together and they're not really actually in the same picture because it's been artificially generated. It's all good stuff and good fun and all the rest of it. But does it really, does it change anything about the way we do anything? Not really.
Yeah. No, that sort of stuff, not really. But look, there will be benefits to AI in the future, but again, I just don't think this is the conversation we need to be having right now. This is not what is important to the UK economy in the immediate future as the markets continue to pass down a very harsh judgment on the here and now.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's an awful lot at Labour's door. The waters are lapping around the ankles of the Prime Minister, as we like to say in politics. And, he's running out of excuses. He's running out of room. It looks like he's going to lose his Chancellor at some point in the next quarter, if not before. It looks like Tulip Sadiq isn't going to survive. That will mean he's lost 3 senior members of his cabinet within a year of being in power, which is pretty unprecedented.
Yeah, it is. I really do wonder, Mike, because we're going to be having this conversation for 4 years. This is unfortunately something which is...
I honestly don't think we are. I think it's going to come to a grinding halt before that.
But what happens? What's the mechanism by which we don't have to deal with this awful government? I can't see that mechanism.
Because the mechanism will come when the events change the way that everything is going on. If the economy collapses, which is possible that it might happen, that could be a reason. If the government collapses because of some other reason, because of some story that breaks, you've got to remember there's an awful lot of, what you might call trapdoors between now and the next couple of years, things that we still don't know, that we asked questions about back in July and August and September, things that we, relationships with Lord Ali, we still don't know really about how all that was working, exactly what, access did he have to government, exactly what decisions were made based on what he recommended. There's connections now with a corrupt government in Bangladesh between Keir Starmer, Tulip Siddiq and their personal friendship. There's all manner of things that could come out of the Southport case, which is due to start next week, which may or may not get underway. We've got an economy teetering on the brink of bankruptcy as a country. The IMF might be called in. There's any number of mechanisms. And the thing about politics, for me, and the times that I've followed it, is that you can never say that something won't happen, because it often does.
I can see how that would lead to the end of Starmer, and in fact I think now it's more likely than not that Starmer doesn't see out this term, but I'm still struggling to see how that means that the Labor Party will voluntarily put themselves up for execution at an election. Politicians don't like to give up power, and unless
it won't be anything to do with their choice. It will be something that they are forced to do. And that's what I'm talking about.
We can only hope. We can only hope.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, I'm going to keep hoping. Good to talk to you, Will. Thanks very much indeed. Will Kingston, political commentator.